Sveiki, and welcome to the video Introduction to Latviešu Language. I am Gunivaldis and I'll be your teacher. Latviešu language is spoken natively by around 1.7 million people and in total has over 2 million speakers. It is the primary and only official language of Latvia, where it is spoken by the majority but not entirety of the population. At home, Latviešu language is spoken by a bit under 2/3 of the population. Geographically, it is the main language of 35 out of 43 municipalities, but in a unitary country, municipalities mean little, so the zoomed out view isn't the best for gaining understanding. So let us take a look at a more detailed map showing how dominant Latviešu language is at home in the country divided by census regions. As you can see, most foreigners live in the capital and other large cities, and in the southeast, whereas Latvieši live in the countryside. Hence that is where Latviešu language is dominant. Historically, during the interwar period, Latviešu language used to be more dominant throughout all of Latvia, with Latvia itself being larger back then. Personally, in this regard, I would very much like to see a return to the situation of that time. The decline of Latviešu lands and language is due solely to the genocidal policies of the Soviet Union. I will not speak more of this. Such depressing words have no place here. Instead, we shall go back even further, to the time of the Tsar and the Russian Empire, at around the turn of the last century. An ethnic map, not a linguistic one, but will do, for language and ethnicity do correlate closely. Due to serfdom having only been cancelled relatively recently, German was still quite dominant in cities. As you can see, within the Russian Empire there were no hard internal borders, so in the borderlands between nations there was bleed over. Some spoke Latviski right outside what would be considered Latvia, and some didn't speak Latviski right inside what could be considered Latvia. The borders were that hard in other empires either. So interestingly, Latviešu fishermen lived all along Prussia's coast, and so Latviešu language was spoken there. More interesting, though, was the last census of the Russian Empire. Although mapping it by largest nationality in gubernia or city doesn't reveal it, it was found that 7% of Latvieši within the empire lived in Siberia. This is both due to government sending political enemies to Siberia and due to Siberia having free land for everyone who would tilt it, free of feudal lords and most unjust laws of the government in Petersburg. Those who called themselves Latvieši on the census were Latvieši and did speak Latviski at this time. Note that Augšzemnieku dialect was most spoken among them. Speaking of dialects, they are always most diverse in the fatherland. I have always been fascinated by how people speak the same language differently. Going one town over, you might not notice how people there speak differently from the people of your hometown, because the difference is ever so slight. But if you go many towns away, you will notice that the people there speak differently, because now the differences are clear as day. Though dialectal differences are not what we shall discuss today, although this map is too detailed for an introduction anyway. Have a simpler map. You can pause and look at it for as long as you like, or go forward and back in the video to look at any you wish. Now, on to describing the language itself. Latviešu language is an Indo-European language, meaning it is descended from Proto-Indo-European. It is a Baltic language, meaning it is descended from Proto-Balto-Slavic, but not Proto-Slavic. It is an inflectional language, meaning that the meaning of sentences is gained through the inflection of words. All latviešu words have a root and an ending, and most prefixes and suffixes can be applied to most words to change their meaning, though it is the conjugation of the ending that is most important for the conveying of meaning within a sentence. In basic sentences, word order is almost completely free. However, there is a typical word order, and deviation from it allows you to stress the words or word phrases which you want people to pay most attention to. When you think about what's it like in things I haven't described, know that Latviešu language is a typical Baltu language, but due to Līvu influence, the stress is placed on the first syllable, and there is a noticeable amount of Līvu loanwords. I could give you examples of all phenomenon, I could describe to you conjugation charts, I could tell you the meaning of all prefixes and suffixes, I could show you sentence structure graphs and so on. But I think that has no place in an introduction. I believe I've done all I needed for an introduction other than have you hear what the language sounds like. So I will do that. I will read to you a folktale. Tēva gudrība. Vecos laikos dzīvoja briesmīgi pikts ķēniņš, kurš visādi savus apakšniekus mocīja. Reiz ķēniņš bija izdevis tādu pavēli, ka visiem dēliem savi vecie tēvi, līdz ko viņi paliek darba nespējīgi, jāaizved uz mežu un tur jāatstāj, lai viņi nobeidzas, jo tad valsts varētu ietaupīt vairāk maizes. Tā visi dēli, līdz ko viņu tēvi palikuši veci, veduši tos uz mežu un tur atstājuši. Bijis ziemas laiks, kad arī viens saimnieka dēls sataisījies savu veco tēvu uz mežu vest. Uzsēdinājis viņu uz dragutiņām, piesējis un vilcis uz mežu, bet vecā tēva dēla dēls gāja šiem līdzi. Kad bijuši jau labi tālu mežā nogājuši, tad dēls atstājis dragutiņas ar veco tēvu un gribējis iet mājās, bet dēla dēls lūdzis, lai ragutiņas neatstājot, velkot atpakaļ uz mājām. Dēls prasīs savam dēlam, priekš kam šim vajadzīgas ragutiņas. Dēlēns atbildējis: Tēv, kad tu paliksi vecs, ar ko tad es tevi vedīšu uz mežu? Dēls nu sācis domāt: drīz es arī palikšu vecs, tad mani tāpat sola atvest uz mežu un atstāt. Nav labi, ka savu veco tēvu šeit atstāju. Domājis tādu laiciņu, tad paņēmis ragutiņas ar veco tēvu, vilcis atpakaļ uz mājām. Ievedis veco tēvu pagrabā un pasacījis, ka te viņam nu būšot dzīvot. Katru dienu dēls viņam atnesis ēdienu, un tā vecais tēvs, citam nevienam nezinot, pagrabā dzīvojis. Vienu gadu visā valstī uznācis liels bats. Nebijis nevienam rudzu ko sēt, kur nu vēl ēst. Tāpēc arī dēls savam vecajam tēvam sācis nest arvien mazāku gabalu maizes. Vecais tēvs cieties kādu laiku, bet vienā dienā prasīs dēlam: kāpēc neesot tik daudz maizes kā no sākuma, bet nesot arvien mazāk? Dēls nu izstāstīs savam tēvam visu par badu, ka neesot vairs nevienam rudzu nedz ko ēst, ne sēt. Tēvs padomājis laiciņu un tad sacīs dēlam: noplēs mūsu vecai rijai jumtu, salmus vēlreiz izkul un graudus iesēj, tad tev maize būs. Dēls izgājis ārā, domādams, ko darīt. Plēst jumtu nost vai nē, maz tur būs vēl graudi samost. Bet bats nācis ar vienu vairāk virsū. Vienā dienā noārdīs rijai jumtu un salmus izkūlis, un par brīnumu dēlam no salmiem izbiruši 2 sieki rudzu, kurus tūliņ dēls iesējis. Nākošajā gadā, kad nevienam nebijuši rudzi, tad dēlam bijuši tādi rudzi, ka prieks skatīties. Vēsts, ka vienam saimniekam esot rudzi, drīz izpaudās pa visu valsti, un nonāca arī pie paša ķēniņa. Ķēniņš pavēlējis dēlu atsaukt pie sevis uz pili. Kad jāiet, tad dēls aizgājis arī. Ķēniņš tūliņ šim prasīs, kur ņēmis rudzus, ko sēt, ka visā valstī esot tik liels bats. Dēls negribējis teikt, jo domājis, ka viņam būs slikti, kad ķēniņš dabūs zināt, ka viņš savu veco tēvu nav atstājis mežā. Bet redzēdams, ka citādi vaļā netikšot, izstāstīs ķēniņam visu par savu veco tēvu un kā viņš licis viņam noplēst ries jumtu. Ķēniņš palicis domīgs un no tā laika neļāvis vairs nevienu vecu vīru vest uz mežu, lai tie dzīvo tik ilgi, līdz paši nomirstot.